was called Hold Your Wee for a Wee. It was like a radio show competition. They called in and she drank like 3 gallons of water in 2 hours. They wouldn't let her pee. And so what happened was she went home, she won the wee, and then she like died in her sleep.
What caused that? What do you go by on TikTok?
It's Chubby Emu.
Chubby Emu.
Yeah,
what made you decide on that name?
So that's been my internet name since the late 90s.
I love that so much.
So I was 14. I got my wisdom teeth pulled.
Uh-huh.
And they give you painkillers afterwards, right? Prescription painkillers.
Yeah, like the heavy stuff.
It was Vicodin at the time.
Oh,
and so,
bless.
Not even Norco, just straight up Vicodin. So
wow.
So I got it, and you're like 14, and you take one, and then you forget, and it's like I'm already kind of like loopy because I got this tooth pulled, and so it's like, oh, okay, I forgot to take it. I'm gonna take another.
No.
I think I ended up taking like eight of them, and like I was like nauseous and I don't really remember what happened. The next morning I woke up and like I kind of like look around. I'm like, where am I? And I look on my desk and there's like I just wrote nonsense on a piece of paper, but it was about a fatty llama and his good friend the chubby emu. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is hilarious. And so that was my internet name back in like 1998. And that was like my AOL Instant Messenger like screen name.
That is crazy.
Yeah, and then it stuck with me. So I was like, when I played World of Warcraft, that was
my friends play so much World of Warcraft. Yeah. I know exactly.
2004.
Yeah. Right. They still do it now.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Right when it came out, it was Chubby Emu was my character.
That's so
And so when
funny.
I created the YouTube channel, I had no idea like what it would be. I was like, I'm just gonna make it, and so I just okay, Chubby Emu, whatever. And I couldn't change it afterwards. I was like, oh, okay, well now I'm Chubby Emu.
I think that's like the best origin story for a toxicologist that I've ever heard in my entire life. Did that experience like shape you wanting to go into that profession?
Exactly.
Did it really? Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So like I know that there's so many people on the internet that genuinely don't know. What is a toxicologist?
Oh, so we deal with poisonings. Yeah. So a lot of people come in through emergency medicine. And so in emergency medicine, you'll have acute poisonings or animal bites, spider bites, scorpion stings, bee stings. And so you'll find that a lot. But also what you'll find is that maybe the toxicology part is the drugs that they're getting in the hospital.
Wow.
And so then you have to recognize, oh, okay, so maybe we're putting too much water in this person very quickly, right? Like that kind of thing. So,
interesting.
But just in general, a lot of it is, drug overdoses or drug adverse events, right? Maybe someone's taken a combination of medicines and they're not interacting directly, but like maybe one medicine is doing something in the liver and the liver needs to break down the other medicine, but it can't now, so that other medicine's now accumulating in their body. Or maybe it's breaking it down too fast, so the medicine's not working. So there's all those kinds of different caveats. And then a lot of times it's just straight up, I drank a lava lamp. And
wait, hold on, that happened?
It happened twice.
Hold on, okay, I need you to tell me this story, because I just bought myself a lava lamp.
Oh, okay. Make sure you don't drink it.
I'm like, wait a second, hold on. Tell me this story, please.
Okay, so it happened twice. So one time somebody was he decided to quit drinking cold turkey.
Like alcohol?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so cold turkey is probably not a good idea because when you drink, you start to develop like different receptors in your brain. And then when you drink a lot, your brain will make a lot of those.
Right.
And then what happens is that when you suddenly stop drinking, that those things that grew on your brain need the stimulation, but they're not getting it anymore. So now they're causing problems and they're like you're screwing up the electrical activity in your brain.
Right.
And so you get seizures, you become delirious, and it's not very good.
Yeah.
Very painful.
Correct.
And so this person had stopped drinking cold turkey. I think it was by choice, or maybe he just couldn't afford his daily intake anymore.
Right.
And so what happened was he saw a lava lamp on his nightstand, and he's like, ooh, shiny. And the bottle of the lava lamp is actually the same as like a beer bottle. So he was in delirium and popped it off and just started drinking. And then
oh my gosh. Yeah. What is a lava lamp made of? Like what is in there? I don't actually even know.
Yeah, so there's a chemical solvent and it's wax. So the wax gets heated by an electrical incandescent light bulb. and it generates heat, and then that's what causes the wax to bubble up. And so then there's like a solvent chemical that'll come up. So we've identified two main poisons depending on what kind of lava lamp you drink.
That's so sad that that's become necessary to know. Continue.
Right. So one causes your kidneys to fail. The other one changes the iron in your red blood cells to not hold on to oxygen anymore, and then your organs shut down. And one is your kidneys shut down, and the other one's your organs shut down. Your blood shuts down.
Oh my! And both of these people lived.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Although they did have like some damage.
Yeah. Of course, you can't drink a lava lamp that has chemicals that will shut down your organs and just like, oh, everything's hunky, everything's fine, nothing happened. Like that's a problem. Yeah. Holy moly. Yeah. So what are that? I have so many questions. There's so many questions in my brain right now. I'm sure you see wild things. How long have you been doing this?
You mean the videos, or
are you still working as a toxicologist?
So I do cancer research now. So
amazing. Okay. Oh my God. Now I have so many questions about that.
Yeah, we design clinical trials and that kind of stuff. So
you know what?
A little bit different.
I might even do like a completely separate episode with you on cancer research.
Oh,
doesn't have to be now, but eventually.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So interested. But anyway, back to. I'm sure you've seen some crazy things in toxicology. Yeah. What are some of we'll start with this one. What are some of the biggest misconceptions that people might have about that go into your job, whether it be about what you do or things that they either ingest or do that kind of ends up coming to see you and you're like, another one. People got to stop doing this, drinking lava lamps and all the things.
One concept that people do have right, I think, is the dose makes the poison.
The dose makes the poison. Okay.
Yeah. So, for example, water is essential for human function. If you drink too much water, that can kill you.
Yeah. I'll never forget being in an airport.
Okay.
As a child.
Okay.
And watching the news of some party. I was young. I might have been in middle school, maybe younger.
Okay.
And it was about these college kids that did a water drinking competition, and someone passed from it because they I don't know exactly what happened, but it was a serious thing. They drank so much water, it was bad. They died, and I remember all of a sudden being so afraid to drink water.
So I think I made a video on that exact case.
Yeah, really.
So it was a radio show competition that happened out in Sacramento.
Wow.
And it was a mom who wanted to win a Nintendo Wii for her kids. And what happened was it was called Hold Your Wii for a Wii. It was a radio show competition. They called in and she drank 3 gallons of water in 2 hours. And they wouldn't let her pee. And so she held it in, and there were nurses calling in saying no, you have to let her go. And then she started saying she had a headache. And that's really bad. If you drink that much water and you have a headache, you're in for a bad time. And so there were nurses calling in, and so what happened was she went home, she won the Wii, and then she died in her sleep.
What caused that?
So 2 different things.
Okay.
One is that the water that she drank didn't have drinking water doesn't have a lot of salt in it, but your body water has about 1% salt. And so the other thing too is that most of your body water is actually not in your blood, it's in your organs, right? So what happens is that water will flow towards where there's salt, right? Because that's osmosis.
Yeah, exactly. I watched Ozzy and Drix. Yeah.
And so usually, everywhere in the body, it's okay, if your liver gets a little bigger, your stomach gets a little bigger, it's not a big deal. What becomes a problem is when the brain starts to get a little bit bigger because it's in the skull, right? And so if the brain is starting to swell with water, then you can start to crush up and fold on itself against the skull, right? And then ooze through the cracks in the skull. And then the brain is permanently damaged after that. So if you're starting to have a headache,
because you drink so much water.
That means that your brain is starting to expand a little bit. And then she started having seizures, and it's that's really bad. Usually after 1 or 2 seizures, that's you're in danger territory, very dangerous territory at that point. And so the fix of that would be to infuse saltier water into the veins. The other mechanism that happens is that there's a hormone in your body that tries to get rid of water. But she felt nauseous as she drank that water and she held it back. Nausea actually plays on that hormone to then cause you to hold on to more of that water because your body feels like it's going to become dehydrated. So it does something to that hormone so that you don't urinate at all. And so she stopped needing to pee after a while, and then that caused her to hold on to the water, and then her brain crushed up against her skull, and then she died in her sleep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so terrifying. That's like a real horror movie.
It is. Yeah. And so the radio station got sued for a whole bunch of
Yeah,
money,
as
and
they
like,
should.
yeah.
That's crazy. See, I feel like there, whether it's radio stations, creators, whatever,
Mhm.
I feel like people find these little, not necessarily pranks, but these little games. And they're like, oh, it's so we have people do like this very innocent thing and they can win money or it's a
Yeah.
prize or whatever.
And
And
it's
so many
not,
people
yeah.
don't actually research what goes into that.
Mhm.
Because I'm not going to do names because it's not about calling people out because
Right.
people don't know what they don't know, but this is about like advocating for research, not throwing anyone under the bus.
Right.
But I've done a lot of collaborations with a lot of creators, and someone was trying to do one where they wanted us to run, and they thought people were going to get very tired and like fall out immediately. Like they thought that people would get tired and that people would fall and get out and they'd be able to move on with the next task. And that didn't happen. And so they wanted people to basically put spoons balanced in their teeth with an egg on the spoon and run to balance the spoon, run and balance the egg as they were running.
Okay.
And no one else spoke up, but I spoke up and I was like, this feels like a bad idea.
Okay.
And they're like, what are you talking about? And I said, first of all, like, I don't know about anyone else, but I have asthma. You want me to run unable to open my mouth because I'm balancing an egg? That feels like a bad idea.
Yeah.
That's dangerous. Second of all, what if someone trips and they are holding a spoon in their mouth and they lurch forwards? Or what if someone starts to fall and like that's a choking hazard.
Right.
This is a bad idea.
Yeah.
And at first they were like, oh, like they didn't really take it seriously. And I was like, you know what? It's not even about like me wanting to win this thing. It's about like, if you want to film this, you go ahead, but don't come crying to me if the comments come back and they're not what you think they're going to be, because this is a real safety hazard.
Right.
And it's
Yep.
encouraging not only people but children that these are fun game ideas. They're not. This is very dangerous. And they were not happy with me. And I was like, you can be not happy with me. That's fine. I don't really care. It doesn't bother me in the slightest bit. And I think that so many people see these fun little things that they think are great contests or competitions, and they don't actually put any thought into like what could go wrong. And from grown adults, like that's so irresponsible, I think. It just makes me mad. It just makes me mad, especially as like a former teacher, you know what I mean?
I was going to say that's the teacher part
like,
of you thinking,
it's just
right?
a bad example.
Yep.
It's so irresponsible. But tell me more about like the kinds of things that you see like at your job. Like what did that look like? What kind of common issues did you come into contact with that we can like educate people on, hey, don't do XYZ, like this is unsafe?
So there was a case that I didn't make a video about.
Okay.
There's a variety of reasons
Okay.
why I haven't made the video about it. I think it's, at least at one point, it was one of the very interesting cases that I saw. So in Chicago in 2012-ish, there was a thing that was happening in Chicago where people would fly in to O'Hare and they would drive west on I-290 going to the west suburbs. And we had this happen. So I'll give you, that was the little pretext. So we had a woman with her boyfriend fly into O'Hare. They were on 290, got into a car accident. And so they had gotten a rental car and she hit her head and he also hit his head. And we're like, oh, okay. So we were checking them out in the emergency room and looking at them, and we're like, okay, well, this might be a head injury. We're not 100% sure. She was 24, and she had a 14-year-old daughter.
Oh,
So we're like, okay. And her boyfriend was also just kind of not really sure if he had hit his head or not. So we're like, okay, well, how about this? Like, we're gonna wait a little bit, and you guys just sit tight and check you out in a couple minutes. The guy next to her, his heart stops beating, and so the entire emergency room kind of converges on him to
yeah.
bring him back and get him further into the hospital. And when we're done with all of that, maybe it's 30, 45 minutes later, the security comes up to us and says, hey, you got to watch these two. They tried to escape. They like tried to walk out of the hospital. We're like, okay. And so we look at her, and like when we did the physical exam, like when she first came in, and then now it's like, now her heart is racing. She's like sweating. She's like agitated. She's like screaming. And we're like,
Oh.
okay, well, she was been here the entire time. Like, what's up? And so her body temperature is super high, her heart rate is super high, her blood pressure is super high, and we're like, okay, something's like it got
Something's wrong.
the body temperature got so high the nurses had to spray water on her and then put a fan on her because the body temperature is way too high. All of a sudden, we're like, fever, maybe it could be infection, I don't know. So as like we keep checking her out and she's still there, and then part of her face starts drooping, like just one half. And we're like, oh, she's having a stroke. She's 24. How's she having a stroke? And so we're like, I think we know what's going on, but we're not 100% sure. It was probably a drug overdose. But how did she take drugs in the hospital when security's like standing there watching her? Like she didn't, just inject a whole bunch of stuff into her body. Like she didn't snort a whole bunch or smoke a whole bunch. Like, so what's happening, right? So we decided to do an X-ray on her abdomen to see if maybe she had swallowed a whole bunch of drugs. And we look and we didn't find anything. We didn't see the X-ray, and we're like, oh, okay. And it's like, okay, great. But then the fellow was like, hey, what we should do, and as a 24-year-old woman, you don't want to be exposing her to that much radiation. So he's like, you know what? I heard this was going on. Like, you might want to move the X-ray down a little bit. And when we moved it down, we found it. It was packs of cocaine were inserted in between her legs.
Oh, wow.
And they popped when she got into the car accident, and they were leaking, and the vaginal mucosa has a direct access to the blood supply, and so she was getting a massive cocaine overdose in her vagina because she was packing drugs and trying to smuggle them into the country. The worst part about this, okay, I remember, so she was treated in the hospital, and I remember there's a thing that we do for 24-year-old women in the emergency room is we do a pregnancy test. And as immigration was coming to take her out because she was from another country, found out she was also pregnant.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so that was like a horrible thing that I saw. And I was like, yeah.
Did she know?
I don't think she knew.
Oh.
I don't know if she knew, but yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I don't think that was her boyfriend.
Oh, wow, I just got chills.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope she got the help that she needed. Holy
Yeah.
moly, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
That's so scary.
So that was in Chicago. It was maybe 13, 14 years ago now. So
Wow.
yeah. So that was a thing. They became more sophisticated in how they packed it later. So they started using like wax and like covering it, but they would use pregnant women to do it to ship things in from at least that's how they did in Chicago.
Why pregnant women?
Security won't check them out with as much scrutiny because they're pregnant. Which also puts them at greater risk because if it pops in their body. Yeah, but at least that was back then. I don't know how it is now, but yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Who thinks about these things? Horrible people. That's who think about these things. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That left me so speechless. I don't even. That's so sad. That's so devastating. And that's like a common thing that you would find.
So that I remember when that particular thing happened, but that we call them body packers. So body packers, like they can get it is kind of dangerous. They've gotten better now at packing
Yeah.
it because they'll like wrap it up in this plastic and then they'll like heat seal it and then they'll wrap it in wax. And so you'll usually see it in the stomach. They'll also take Imodium so that the stomach slows down so that it doesn't, come out in the airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they'll. I don't know how much they do now of it. Like that. This is like outdated information now because.
But still, like I never even like thought about it. That's
Yeah.
not something that I think about
Yeah,
on a daily basis.
right. But like when you see it, you're like, oh, that's what's going on.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
That
right.
it makes sense, but it's not something that you would even like that I would even begin to think about
Right.
during the day
Yeah.
of like how to go about this.
Right. And so like when you see her like a 24-year-old having a stroke.
It's like,
And,
wait.
and it like it's very clearly like a cocaine overdose, and it's like, but she's been sitting here like she not
She
doing
didn't
any
go
cocaine,
anywhere.
right? Like we'd be able to kind of see if she's taken anything, but she hasn't been. So it's like, what was happening? And we're like, okay, well maybe something leaked out of her stomach. You try looking at it, it's like, nope, not the stomach.
It's a little further down.
A little further
Oh
down.
my God,
Yeah.
that's devastating.
Yeah.
What are some examples of other like common things that you see that are like easily preventable? I mean, obviously that's like easily preventable, but things that are more common that like to educate the public on, hey, like Tide Pods, for example.
Oh, yeah.
I'm assuming that was a huge thing for you.
It actually wasn't that common. So,
Really?
Yeah, it was really more in the like the meme territory.
So it was just the media blowing it out of proportion.
Yeah, it wasn't really that many people doing it, and so but
Really?
there were like a couple cases where like kids were like screwing around and like putting like multiple in their mouth, and then like one would pop or like one would rupture, and then like they'd panic and then they like breathe it in,
Oh.
and so that was a
That was
thing.
like the worst of it.
That was a thing, yeah.
Okay,
And so,
interesting.
yeah. But
But the
like,
Tide Pod things wasn't like
not,
real.
not,
That
yeah,
wasn't a real epidemic.
Yeah,
that
it wouldn't be
everyone...
like your students were like all eating Tide Pods,
Yeah,
right? Because that was
no.
around that time that.
Yeah, I always thought
teaching.
like
Yeah.
I don't know any of my kids that are doing that, but the media says that this is like a common issue, so I
There-
guess it is somewhere.
There was a thing that was from a couple years ago, NyQuil chicken.
Wait,
And-
what? Wait,
You don't remember this?
I know.
So there was a
How
meme.
long ago was this?
So this was in the news in 22, but the meme actually predated it by like I think maybe almost 10 years.
Okay, tell me about what
And so
NyQuil's chicken?
there was a picture of somebody cooking a chicken breast in NyQuil. And the FDA put an announcement out about social media memes and drug misinformation,
Uh-huh.
and they cited NyQuil chicken as an example, and they cited the meme. So they cited the actual meme as the example, and I don't actually think anybody cooked chicken in NyQuil, and if they did, heating up the NyQuil would it alter the chemical stability
Right.
of it a little bit, and so even then it's like, first of all, how much NyQuil is actually in the chicken after you cook it? The chicken is blue after you do it. Like,
Right.
I actually did cook NyQuil chicken for a
see what
video
it would
that I
look like.
made. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I actually did do it, and there isn't that much NyQuil in the chicken, but it's still not something you want to do anyways.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, it was interesting because like the news kind of blew it up because the FDA had written about it, but the FDA was like
A preventative measure.
but it was like citing a meme. And
Yeah.
it was like, how many people are actually doing NyQuil chicken? Because it was clearly a joke. And so I was like, maybe there are some. I hadn't seen it, but okay.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
I feel like that's so common when it comes to like trends on social media that the media will get wind of like something that one school did somewhere or like a couple kids did in one random state and they're like, oh my God, kids everywhere are
Right. Yeah.
XYZ. And it's like, no, they're not. Like the only time I can think of where there actually was a genuine national problem was Devious Licks. And it's when they were like destroying the school property and like ripping sinks off of the bathroom walls and ripping the urinals off. Because like I saw that happening.
That happened at your school?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So many teachers had like belongings get stolen. Because like the whole idea was, what can you steal from your school?
Oh.
And it ranged from like sinks in the bathrooms to like lunch tables to teachers' personal belongings.
Oh.
Like that was like, and I think because it wasn't anything that you ingested, people felt safer doing it.
Mm.
But when it came to like things being ingested, I don't like even when they were doing what was it, the crushed up Benadryl? You know what I'm
Oh
talking
yeah, yeah,
about?
okay, yeah.
Like didn't know anyone that actually ever did that.
I mean, there are people who will take a lot of Benadryl, and
Yes.
yeah,
I talked to I need to show you Dr. Rubin. He's
okay,
awesome. He was telling me that Benadryl's bad.
it is.
I that broke my heart because
Yeah.
I'm allergic to the mosquito bites and that like I'll get the quarter-sized whelps.
Oh, okay, all
And
right.
so I used to just take half a Benadryl when I would get eaten up in the summer.
If you're taking that, that's fine. It's like when people drink like a whole bottle of Benadryl, that is a problem.
That's so scary.
Yeah. Or like
People do
yeah,
that?
yeah, it's called robo tripping.
Wait, there's a term for
Oh
it?
yeah.
I must be like I'm out of the loop. I'm so lame. Robo tripping?
Yeah, amongst like people who use these kinds of things,
Yeah.
they make fun of the robo trippers a lot. So in some sense, the robo trippers get discriminated against.
What is robo tripping?
So it's like drinking a whole bottle of Benadryl.
Just Benadryl or is it like any
Usually just Benadryl.
Okay.
Yeah, diphenhydramine.
And
So
what's their goal?
their goal is to get high.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so they get high off of doing it, but it's like a really like weird high that doesn't feel good afterwards, and like you can get screwed up over
Yeah.
like over a week afterwards, and like there's the memes that they see the Hat Man.
I've only recently heard of the Hat Man.
Okay, yeah.
In the last year. I didn't
Oh,
know that
okay.
was a thing. I've
Yeah.
never seen the Hat Man.
Okay, well you haven't taken a whole bottle of Benadryl.
No, I
If you
have
take
not.
half a tablet, it's fine.
But I've heard I have a friend who like will take regular pain medication and fight sleep and he's like, "Oh, I see the Hat Man. I got to go." And I'm like,
Wait, sleep medication? So
I don't know what it was.
Is-
I don't know what it's for.
So Benadryl is also a sleep
Yes,
medicine.
yes.
But it's not a great one because you can wake up and have
I heard
like a
that it
bit of
messes with your REM, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually not a good quality sleep. It makes you drowsy, but the sleep that comes out of it
It's
isn't
not.
very good.
Yeah.
So like
That's what I heard. That's
yeah.
what I heard.
like sometimes you'll hear parents like they don't want to deal with their kids' crap on a plane, so they'll just feed them a bunch of Benadryl. It's like you don't want to do that.
No.
Then the kid's gonna be like messed up when you're on the trip. So
Yeah.
you'd rather them be screwed up on the plane rather than screwed
Yeah.
up on the trip.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, but like one tablet of Benadryl isn't gonna do anything bad.
Okay,
So
okay.
it's there are better antihistamines, like better anti-allergy
Yeah.
medicines that have less side effects.
Okay,
So,
okay. Like, what do you
um,
recommend?
So like there's loratadine,
Mhm.
cetirizine. You can find those at Costco. Used to be called Claritin.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I
yeah.
have Claritin. Yeah. Okay.
So
that makes
those
sense.
are a little bit better for allergies. Benadryl is kind of like a shotgun approach. It just kind of like hits everything in your body,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how it takes care of the allergy part. But we have more targeted anti-allergy medicines now. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
So what are some other misconceptions that people might have about like the realm of like what your job is?
There's fentanyl's a big thing right now.
Okay.
Right? And so I was walking around in Los Angeles. There's something called the Valley, right? So that's a little bit northwest, up by like Burbank, North Hollywood. I was walking around there, and I get up early on the West Coast because I'm still
Right.
Central Eastern time.
Yep.
And so like I'll be up at like 4 or 5 in the morning.
Wow.
And take a walk, and you'll see Narcan, which is the antidote to opioids. Like you'll see it on the street, and like when you see it with like the box and the paperwork spread out everywhere, it's like, oh, that's somebody had overdosed and somebody presumably rescued them. But yeah,
Wow.
so fentanyl's a big thing now, and it's really a different era now because you can't really get heroin anymore. You get fentanyl, and
So what's the difference between heroin and fentanyl?
okay, so fentanyl is more potent.
Mm-hmm.
So more potent means that a smaller amount will get you the effect that the person who's using is looking for.
Okay.
And so that means it's easier to overdose.
Okay.
Right, because we already don't know what's in the amount that's being taken, and so it might be mixed in with something else. It might have contaminated. They might think they're taking something else, but it's actually
Right.
fentanyl. They don't know, right? And so what happens then is now you get these overdoses from amounts that people are not familiar with. So like the traditional heroin that we knew back in the 90s, it's not really a thing anymore. and there's like a variety of different reasons for that. But fentanyl is cheaper and easier to make, and then comes up and causes the issues that it does. But there is an antidote to it. So that would be, you just have to give it in time. And then when you give it in time, if you give too much, then the person goes straight into withdrawal, and they'll puke their guts out, and they'll feel like they can't breathe and that kind of stuff. So,
holy moly.
Yeah. I get this question a lot on the YouTube side of things, is people will ask, like, how come we have an antidote for opioids, but we don't have an antidote for alcohol, like hangovers?
Interesting.
And so the reason why is that the opioids bind to like a very specific part of the brainstem that causes you to stop breathing, and that's what kills you. Alcohol hangovers come from, there's actually two different ways that hangovers come from. There's one from the dehydration that comes out, because what alcohol does is that it plays with the same diuretic hormone that the lady who drank 3 gallons of water in 2 hours had. So it plays with that, so it causes you to flush out a bunch of water when you're drinking, and then that will cause a headache. The second thing is that alcohol is broken down twice in the body, and the intermediate, so it gets broken down really quickly into one thing that's called acetaldehyde. Then from acetaldehyde, it becomes vinegar, essentially. So that acetaldehyde part is what causes flushing. It's really painful. And that's actually really slow to break it down. So there isn't a good way that we found to break it down faster to prevent the hangover without causing some other damage in the body.
Interesting.
Yeah, without it being riskier to take. So
yeah.
an acetaldehyde works all throughout the body, so it's harder to stop it at that point. So that's why it's a little bit harder to not have an antidote for hangovers. So that's a question I get pretty often.
That's so interesting. Something that because I did that episode with Dr. Rubin.
Yep.
And he's an immunologist as well as an allergist.
Okay.
So we talked a lot about
vaccines.
vaccines.
He doesn't like Benadryl. Oh, okay.
Yeah. He does not like Benadryl. And we talked a lot about, vaccines.
Okay.
And I got so many comments that were very concerned about reading the inserts as to what goes into vaccines. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people who are not in the medical field read these inserts and the ingredient lists in vaccines and get very concerned, because they're like, well, these are poisons, these are bad. Would you as a toxicologist be able to speak to that concern and explain why the vaccines are worth it or not, in your opinion?
So if it's the recommendation, I'm not going to fight against the
No,
recommendation.
yeah.
Right. And so the ingredient thing, you just got to be careful with it, because sometimes people will want to play on these are chemicals and these are horrible. It's like, well, water is a chemical, right? But I don't want to be pedantic about that either at the same time, because it's like what is it, dihydrogen monoxide, and it's like, that's water, right?
Yeah.
And so people want to play on that, but there's a bit of fear that's involved with it, I think, and then right, and so the fear part, it's harder to dispel, because it is a very visceral reaction that we can get.
Absolutely.
So that's like one of the issues that come up with it, because it's a genuine fear, right? Because
people are concerned that they're putting poison in their bodies. Right. They read the ingredients list. They will sometimes Google something and it's like, oh, well, this is a carcinogen, or well, this is XYZ, or this is whatever, and their immediate concern is, oh, well, what am I putting in my body?
Right.
What would you tell to those people who have those concerns and are just looking that up and thinking, oh?
There isn't a good way to do it.
Okay.
That's why there's been such a culture fight over this, is that, for example, with foods, right, which is also another thing that has a lot of fear. They'll list the chemicals in the food ingredients, or like the newest meme about the Walmart ice cream sandwiches that don't melt. And they're like, oh, am I eating ice cream? Or like, ice cream's supposed to melt. How come it's not melting, right? And so, the question is, and this is maybe a little outside the ice cream sandwich part, but some foods would rot they mold very easily if you didn't have certain preservatives in them. Now, the question is, do we have too many preservatives? That's a legitimate question. So the issue that comes up that I saw when I lived in DC was that you have everything presented one-sided without having the downside risk that comes with it. So it's like, okay, well, if you don't want to vaccinate, what's the downside risk of that? If you do want to vaccinate and there's all of these things in it, and maybe it is, I don't know, right?
yeah.
So in
We
some
don't know
case,
what we don't know.
right. And so in some case, it's like, well, what's the downside risk? Like what used to happen? And a lot of times they're not honest about what used to happen. And it's like, well, what used to happen? People used to die a lot earlier, right? Or, you know, the
People would have measles, or
right.
they would
yeah,
have...
or the kids would be like permanently scarred. Like I have an uncle, because my grandpa would be 120 right now
Wow.
if he were alive today.
Wow.
And so he had a son who had polio, right? And so he was in a wheelchair for his entire life. And so it's like we need to have the conversation about the downside risk that comes like
comes from not vaccinating.
Well, not just that, but the like the foods, right? So it's like, let's not have the preservatives now. All your food's moldy, right? So like stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, like we can have that conversation. And the fear, I understand it because it's very visceral, right?
Especially when it comes to long-term effects of chemicals that we might not know the long-term effects.
Right.
But it's also, but the truth of the matter is, okay, we might not know the long-term effects of these vaccines, but we do know the long-term effects of polio.
Right.
And we do know the long-term effects of measles.
Right. And some of the diseases that come out of it.
Exactly.
So
and
it
becomes like a, what is a lesser of the two evils?
Right.
And I get that. I understand that.
And so like in terms of like public health, it's like there's always a trade-off, right?
Right, exactly.
And so that's the other thing too, is that like to have honest conversation, you have to understand there's always a trade-off, right? And sometimes, a lot of times, the benefit greatly outweighs the risk for a lot of people. And so it's like, well, do you want to, like, how many people do you want to impact here, right? So that would be a question for the people who are in charge, which isn't me.
No, yeah, you just work here.
Right.
Yeah, you just work.
I don't make the rules around
here. No. You're just answering the questions and explaining it in a more digestible, which I value. I think that's so valuable. I think when information, especially medical information, is presented in a very digestible way, it can quell a lot of the fears. Because when it comes to medical health, it's very easy to get very, very stressed and kind of in your own head and worried that like you're the only one advocating for you and your own health. And I think that when, you know, in the medical world, there's a lot of big words, there's a lot of big concepts, there's a lot of big names that just feel very intimidating, and it's very easy to just kind of close off and just, well, I only want to listen to like what I can understand. And so presenting medical information in a way that's digestible for everyone, I think, is so important, because it helps shape the world a little less scary, if that makes sense.
You know, so there's a thing that it's a very old story, and it borders on some people thinking it's superstition.
Okay.
But I think we're all familiar with like these elements like earth, air,
fire. I've seen
Avatar.
Avatar.
Right? Yeah, you've seen it, right? and so like, but it's actually like a really, really old story. And what's interesting about it, in like the philosophical perspective, those elements are like, it's not actually fire, it's not actually wood, but there's analogies behind it. And something that I came across a couple years ago was that some of these actually interplay with each other in a way that is more profound than if you just brush it off as a superstition.
Right.
So I'll give you an example. Medicine is considered wood in this way of thinking.
Really?
And so because like actual medicines sometimes do come from actual wood. So like aspirin comes from tree bark.
I didn't know that.
And so like, and then there's herbal medicines and that kind of stuff, right? So wood is medicine is wood.
Okay.
And politics is water. And we can see that, you know, you know, the tide and, you know, how things flow, right? Like performing arts, politics, that kind of stuff. It's water, right?
Yeah.
Now, in the analogy part of it, what happens when you give wood water?
It kind of like it gets soft.
But it's like a tree, right?
Yeah.
So it'll just keep getting bigger.
Oh, okay.
Right?
I was thinking of like actual bark, like shriveling.
Oh, yeah, like the actual.
But a tree needs water to survive.
Right.
Okay. Yeah,
so so a tree would need some water to start growing.
Right.
And then once it starts growing, it's going to keep needing more and more water. And so the analogy behind this, using this, is that medicine is a situation of life or death.
Right.
Right. And so the situation of life or death will control how people behave and what decisions they make,
Right.
which is medicine controlling politics,
Got it.
right? And so, on a macro scale, we can see in the United States what happened was the current healthcare system that we have now was created in part because of a law. There's two laws that came around. There was a tax code in 1917 that said if an employer gives their employees health insurance, the government won't tax that. The government cannot tax that.
Interesting.
And then in World War II, the U.S. government capped wages and said you cannot pay your employees more than this because we need that money for the war effort.
Right.
But you can give them more benefits, and we won't tax those benefits. So almost all of the employers gave their employees health insurance. And when the war ended, they stopped. Like they allowed wages to go up again, but they didn't tax the benefits still. And within a couple years, they found out if anybody who proposed taxing health insurance, employer health insurance, got voted out.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, okay, so this is where it starts to become wood controlling water, right? It's like
Yes.
so the policy got the tree started a little bit. Now what happened was on the macro scale,
Yep.
right, it happened that okay, well, the doctors found out they could start charging the insurance companies a lot of money, and the insurance company would pay like, oh, hey, this patient needs this test, we need to do this, and oh, they need to be on this medicine, and so then they start making more money. And then what happens is that if you're not employed anymore,
It becomes
you
unmanageable.
can't afford it because you can't pay the price that the insurance was paying. And so who
Interesting.
were the people who couldn't afford it? It was, well, the elderly weren't working anymore, and certain women who had children, right, elected to not be in the workforce, so then they can't afford it anymore. Kids can't afford their own health insurance for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So then the government said, okay, well, now we need to step in, Medicare, Medicaid, and so now there's more policies going into this tree, more water going into this tree, getting bigger and bigger,
Wow.
and becomes the system that we have today. So my point in this is that the fear of a situation of life and death controls the decisions that people make and their behavior
Wow.
on an individual scale. So the more insidious part of this is playing on that fear to get people to behave the way that you want them to.
Right.
And so a lot of the anti-vaccine conversations that come out, you'll start to see that come into play. And so that's kind of where the more insidious part comes in, because again, it's a question of life and death in the most extreme. And if it is, then you could use that to change the way people behave, and you have to be very careful of that, because what ends up happening is that the system just keeps getting bigger. Like the more you keep changing the way people are doing things,
Right.
you're actually making the system bigger and bigger and bigger.
Interesting.
yeah.
I never knew all of that. That's so fascinating.
It's like a little story for
No,
people
I
to
love
like
that.
understand.
I think it makes so much sense. And I think it just makes so much sense. I think that there's a lot of people that don't really understand that that's how we came to have the system that we have. Because
Yeah.
our system is so different than places around the world.
Yeah.
Wow. Can you think of any other things that like about whether it's the medical world or toxicology world that like people really just might not know or be aware of?
Well, the body is more resilient than we're led to believe.
Really?
There's people who survive really insane things that you wouldn't think that they'd survive. And so the body, and the body can take a lot of abuse and
Yeah.
mishandling. So
do you have an example in mind?
well, the simple one is like when people have diabetes,
Uh-huh.
like type 2 diabetes that they acquired like later.
What? Okay, I know this might be a really dumb question.
Yeah. No.
What is the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes?
Okay, so type 1 is your pancreas cannot make insulin anymore.
Right. And that's something that you're born with.
It can be you're born with it, but also something might happen later in your life
Okay.
that will, like, so your immune system might attack your pancreas, and
That's
then it
so
can't.
scary.
Yeah. Usually it comes from medicine,
Okay.
or like there could be like something really horrible in the environment, and like you drank like Camp Lejeune water or something,
Oh.
and
Hmm.
yeah, and then your pancreas gets
Messed up,
destroyed. Yeah. That's type 1. Type 2 is your pancreas makes insulin, but your body doesn't respond to it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So insulin is supposed to shove sugar in your blood into your cells so that your cells can grow. And when your cells don't respond to it, the sugar just stays in your blood and starts flowing around. That causes a lot of problems.
Interesting. Okay. And so, sorry, continue with what you were saying
Yeah.
before.
So
I wanted to know that.
So the body can handle a lot of abuse, and it's like you might be 50 or 60, and then now you have type 2 diabetes, but there isn't like you can't fix 40 years of damage overnight.
Right.
Right. And so that's another misconception that people have. They're like, oh, they have the cure for diabetes, but they don't want to give it to us. And it's like, no, you can't just take one pill and then 40 years of damage have just completely gone away.
Right.
At the same time, your body's also very resilient. So there are some medicines you can take. Generally, right, one misconception is like, oh, doctors are making money off of trying to pump us full of medicines or whatever. Some might be, right?
So you say that 40 years of damage can't just be reversed with a pill. Like it's not that simple.
Right.
What are health things that people do that contribute to them developing type 2 diabetes? And what are some things that they can do to not develop 40 years of damage that will lead to type 2 diabetes?
Yeah. Limit your sugar intake.
Okay.
And time of day also matters. So there's a circadian rhythm in humans. And so generally, if you eat more carbs earlier in the day versus later in the day, that's overall better. And over years and years and years, that adds up. Exercise, right? Just taking a walk. It could just be that simple as taking a walk 3 times a week, 30 minutes, and moderate intensity. Break a little bit of sweat. That also helps. Doing the exercise also helps. We found it in some studies. It helps prevent some dementia too. So
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So just being able to have regular exercise is very, very important. Yeah. And those are the 2 big things. It doesn't need to be intense bodybuilder or Division I athletics kind of exercise. It's as simple as making sure that you go out, take a walk in the morning or at nighttime, whenever is good for you, and break a little bit of sweat. You don't got to be giant ring of sweat.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, and so like as long as you can be consistent with doing that, that'll help you a lot.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I didn't mean to interrupt what you were saying earlier. You were talking about people assuming that, oh, they just won't give us the cure, but in reality, anything that they come up with isn't gonna out or undo 40 years of damage.
Yeah, it's years and years.
Continue. Sorry,
yeah,
I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to know.
Yeah, no, all good. Yeah, years and years of damage. But the body's resilient, right? So the first thing that we recommend, if you do have diabetes, is that diet and exercise, right? And so the exercise. When you deal with patients, like you're dealing with people from all walks of life. So it could even just be as simple as a soup can, just moving it around.
Soup cans on wrist exercises.
Right. Yeah, moving it around with your arms and and taking a walk. But some people they might have trouble walking by the time they have diabetes. So it's like whatever exercise that you can do, just some level of activity. Doesn't need to be ultra intense. That we usually think of when it comes to going to the gym, right? It's just very simple, and just be active, right? And so get up a little bit and get moving, right? Move your body a little bit, and that's always usually a good solution.
That's so interesting. Can you think of any other misconceptions or any other things that people might not understand that might help their quality of life or might make them not have to go see a toxicologist or anything along those lines that you think that might be helpful? And if not, that's totally okay.
Well, I guess the one thing is that there's in our space in making
medicine.
Videos.
In content creating. Okay, yeah.
That kind of stuff. So I'm actually, it feels like I'm taking a contrarian position in this space when I say if you don't need to put it in your body, don't put it in your body, right? Whereas sometimes you'll see other people with podcasts, reaching millions of people, and it plays on that fear a little bit, like the health anxiety part. And it's like sometimes like you'll see stuff from podcasts that'll be like, oh, the moment you wake up, within 15 seconds, you need to have sunlight hitting your retina.
Oh.
Otherwise, your day's going to be ruined. I'm obviously
No,
exaggerating
yeah,
a
but
little bit.
still.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, within the first, however many seconds of waking up, you need to have sunlight touching your eyes, and you can't touch receipts, right, or that kind of stuff. And it's like, you could, it's okay. There's some flexibility here. Like,
Right.
you don't need to wake up in the moment, stick your head out the window, just make sure that the sun's shining on your eyes. Like, that's a little excessive, right?
Yes.
And playing a little bit too much into the fear. So it kind of brings us back to the old analogy, right? And so all of that is, people want to be mindful of it. I feel like it's the contrarian position, although in my field, right, it's like, yeah, if you don't need to put it in your body, don't put it in your body, right? So it's like,
I wouldn't even see it as a contrarian opinion. It's like you were a professional in the space. I feel like a lot of people
Right.
who go online and say, this is what you need to do during your day, and this is what you need to eat, and this is what you need to drink. A lot of these people aren't certified in anything.
right.
Like,
yeah.
It's weird to me that people who think that searching on Google for about 30 minutes is the equivalent of a medical degree. And I'm like, that's not the case.
Yeah,
There's a reason people go to school to
Right.
be an expert in a field.
Right.
And I don't see it as you being a contrarian at all. I see you spreading information is actually myth busting as a professional
Yep.
who knows what he's talking, who has a degree and has studied and spent years researching the medical field and like how the body works, myth busting what people who might just Google for like a couple hours, a couple hours is never going to amount to a full-on medical degree. It's just not. Like, I see it as you just myth busting people who are scaring people into thinking that they need their supplement or need their coaching, or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're just trying to scare people into hiring them to fix their life, but they're not certified or licensed to do any of that.
And honestly, like, a lot of the fix in the life could be solved by simple stuff, right? That you might not need to spend any money
Simple stuff
on,
that
right?
a real professional might be able to pinpoint to
Right.
you.
Or it could just be as simple as going outside and taking that walk. Right?
Literally, I said this in a podcast episode before, and I'll repeat it. I started a garden this year.
Oh, nice.
And I've had a crazy year. It's been a very stressful, emotional year. And just the little bit of time that I spent outside in my garden has changed my mental so much.
Amazing.
And now it's a daily routine. I spend an hour in the morning on the screened-in porch with the cats, drinking my caffeine, and it's the best start to my day.
Wow.
And it's changed everything about my mentality, and I love it. Like, you're so right. A little bit of time outside can do so much for people. And I've said this in an episode, but it was with a musician who I love so much. I love him to death. But you're a professional. You can have an opinion on this. I heard that, people in general have always, we've been outside beings, whether it was back in the day when we were nomadic or like farming or and growing all of our food or hunting or whatever. We spend most of our time outside. And even though, yes, it's true that like a lot of mental health has been able to be better diagnosed in modern times, I feel like there's also more of it because we're so cooped up nowadays.
Yep.
And that, I think, is contributing to so much more of the mental health crisis that we're seeing, because we're not getting the fresh air, we're not getting the sunlight, we're not outside the way that we always have been throughout history. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is some truth to it. Although, if you look like maybe even like a couple hundred years ago, they were some people were still cooped up inside, right?
And they were
like,
crazy. No, I was kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, it really depends. But yeah, I would say, being on the move and not, kind of like shutting yourself in.
Yeah.
Because like I remember when I was in college, I there was my senior year, I did like, there was something that happened to my apartment, and I had to like stay in a different place without my roommate. And it was like the way that the room was laid out was like if I didn't leave the room, it was like the four walls like extended up into infinity,
Yeah.
and like I could just see like the sky, and then like it's like you're just like locked in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I remember thinking that, and then for several years afterwards, it just always felt like that. Even I moved to different places, and I'm
Right.
like, I really need to just put on my shoes and walk out, right? And so, yeah, I think there's some truth to it. Is like you do want to change your surroundings once in a while and be concerned most with what's immediately in front of you. If it's coming through a computer, you don't need to give it the same level of urgency that you would your family. That's right next to you in person, right?
Yeah.
You wanna give them priority, not what's on the screen.
I love that. Oh, well, thanks so much for hanging out with me today.
Thanks
Are
for
there
having
any
me.
last minute things that you just feel like need to be addressed, need to be talked about? Any last words of anything to the people, to the general public?
This might be kind of like a bomb.
Okay.
Uh,
That's okay.
like if I guess it would be if we really had the cure for cancer, important famous people wouldn't be dying of cancer,
You know what? That's so valid.
right?
That's so valid. Yeah. Because you always see, like, oh, I bet we have the cure for cancer. They just don't want to give it to us. But you're right. Like, Biden has cancer.
Right.
He wouldn't, if that were the case.
He would have never had it if he had the cure, right?
That's
Like,
so
they wouldn't have
valid.
ever
That's
said
so
anything,
true.
right?
That's like a really good thing to end on, like food for thought.
So next episode when I'm on will be the cancer research stuff.
That's so, yes, I'm so excited about that.
It'd be great.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm so excited for that already.
Thanks so much for the invite.
I hope,
Yeah.
oh no, this was so, I love episodes where like we learn stuff. Because a lot of episodes, like, there's some episodes where you learn a lot, and there's some episodes where it's like all about crazy Karen stories. But like the teacher in me, I love the episodes where I learn a lot. Like for me, it's so valuable for me. So thank you guys so much.
I'm glad you learned something.
Oh yeah, and thank you guys all for hanging out with us. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see y'all next week. Bye, my lovelies.